got like super emotional when they said like, it's over and stuff like that. I'm like, what?
Hi, everyone. We are LaChiMoLaLa. And this is our week-long wrap-up roundup of BTS Permission to Dance on stage in LA. We were lucky enough to go to the first show live in person, which was crazy. And then we just watched the final show streaming yesterday. So we're just going to talk about all the things that this week has done, all the V-Lives, all the tweets, all the fun fan pics, the fan cams, just a general wrap-up of BTS being amazing, obviously.
I know, a cute little bow.
Come on.
Oh my goodness. So I honestly miss them performing already. Like, even though we didn't go to all 4 shows and we went to the very first one, it was kind of fun just hopping on Twitter and seeing what people were posting on each day.
Yeah, you really felt like you were there for part of it. And
Mhm.
like anything that was different from the night we went, of course, was immediately posted online.
Yeah.
So we still got to experience all the like special guest stars. And I was really appreciative of everyone on the floor who was giving us close-ups of, happy BTS members, a lot of hip thrusting,
Yeah.
and just general like enjoyment. They were just so excited and happy to be there, and it did seem, I think you pointed this out, every night they seemed a little more like in their element. I feel like maybe the first night it just had been so long and they were so nervous.
Yeah.
But they kind of loosened up as it went along, which was perfect because then when you watch the live stream from home, they're in their best form.
Yeah. I mean, it was very interesting because the show that we went to, which was the opening day, and you could kind of see that they were pretty tense. They were happy to be there and they were just really grateful to be there. But at the same time, you kind of see that nervousness from them too, like
They
through
seemed
their
really
speeches.
stressed, like they weren't sure they could still do it, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess they were just feeling a lot of pressure. You second doubt yourself. I mean, you haven't done it in 2 years.
Yeah, that's a long time in front of
No.
like not doing it in front of a huge crowd. And their performances on Saturday were phenomenal. Even with like the sound issues that they had, especially like during Butter. But during the speeches, that's when we kind of noticed like, okay, you could tell like Jimin was like not his playful self, but as each day progressed and we saw on Twitter, you see like V dressed in like a Squid Game costume.
Which I still feel like I need an explanation for that. I mean, it was adorable because he's adorable, but I was also like, what the hell? He was one of the scary guys too, like the scary guard guys.
Yeah, and then you have Jin on day 2 with his Jin thing that he does for the encore performances, doing weird stuff with his hair. And I don't know when he quite started that. When did he start that? Like, did that start during the pandemic? Because yeah.
I don't think so. Didn't he do it at Magic Shop too, maybe? Maybe it's a thing he's been doing for a little while. I feel like Jin does not mind looking like a fool, and he knows people love it.
Yeah.
So he leans in hard, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, exactly. So like for day 2, he had 2 little pigtails, and again it was Squid Game because the guys were singing the theme song as he was he was that kid, that crazy girl that shot lasers from her eyes, that
Spoiler.
green light, red light. Oh yeah, whoops.
He was the giant female robot, which, I mean, if you have to pick something, crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And there were like people photoshopping him in that like yellow orange dress. So I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, day 2. Yeah, Megan came out and the whole they had like the pink in there on their like screen and stuff like that, which we didn't experience on opening day, and the other days didn't experience it as well because it's Megan and it's me. So
I thought it was kind of nice. Almost every day got a little something special. Like they did different songs for the encores, or they had different people either in the audience or on stage. That it every night felt special, even though the set list wasn't drastically different.
yeah, I mean the set list was basically the same. It's just the encore songs. Like everyone was like, "Oh my goodness!" Like, whoa, what song is it? And it's so funny because Twitter every day would predict like, "Oh, is it Louder Than Bombs or is it Pied Piper?" Dimple, like, and it was so much fun, like just seeing Army like trying to predict what the encore songs would be. So the encore songs wound up being Spring Day, Bulletproof, Eternal, Microcosmos, Home. And so,
Love yourself.
oh yeah, and Answer, Love Myself, So I think those were like the five songs, right? That they
I think
sang.
so, because they did Spring Day, I think, every day, right?
I think they did it 2 days in
Mm.
a row. Yeah. So, um, but yeah, like how did you feel? Okay, so how did you feel on like the fourth day? Because we both knew that the fourth day would be very emotional.
It was really awesome to see how much they felt it too. I mean, obviously, we knew they were going to, but it's still so surprising, I feel like, to me, because Western artists would not show that level of vulnerability, particularly not on stage.
Mm-hmm.
So like when V like could not, he was like crying, like, but he was like kind of trying to be cool about it, but like he also didn't care that everyone could see he was crying. He was just like, "Yep, I'm crying. Here we are, and I'm crying." Like I thought it was so cute, and like Jimin like gave him a back hug and stuff. Like it's like we knew they would be emotional as well, but it's kind of nice to feel like you always feel like with them they get the emotions you're going through because you're usually going through the same ones.
Yeah.
And like the gratitude that RM was showing, and it made me feel really hopeful about what's to come, because it did kind of feel like, just like Permission to Dance, it felt like a door opening to the next chapter.
Yeah.
um so I just thought they were so adorable.
Okay, so for me, I definitely cried. I cried like a little baby. My husband was probably like, "Why is she crying?" Like in the living room and bawling. Um, Kind of felt like their messages, like kind of just pierced through my heart, and I started like sobbing, and I'm like, "Oh, I can't believe it's over." But yeah, their speeches were you could tell it's like very heartfelt, it was so genuine. Jimin's speech especially like kind of just hit home a little bit because he was like, well, we now that there's a new variant out there, we don't know when we're coming back. And I'm like, what?
Honestly, though, I was like, don't you mean you can't go home? Are
I
you staying in LA forever?
know. Yeah, I'm
I
sure
mean,
they
I
miss
did think
home.
about that, like because of everything that was going on. I was just like, what if they're not allowed back home for like a month? They
Yeah.
can finish recording here.
Yeah, they're definitely going back home for sure because all the award it's award season over there for them, but the only thing is that they can't perform because they have to quarantine like for 10 days or something like that. So um but that being said, like I mean the speeches and stuff like that, yeah, it just made me very emotional too. Like I felt like everyone tried to like fight tears like on the stage, and it was really interesting too because like when you saw them perform Permission to Dance, they were just like you could tell how like sad they were. They're like, oh, like we don't know when we're gonna perform live again in front of a crowd, and they weren't like their enthusiastic selves for that song,
Yeah.
until Chris Martin came out, and that's when they started jumping all over the place, So that okay, so that my first impression of that for Permission to Dance. Okay, so Permission to Dance, they were kind of like gloomy and you could tell. And then for some odd reason, like it just felt like it wasn't the extended version like we had in the beginning, because it took them a while. Like they kept playing the song like da na 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 na, and like repetitively, but all of a sudden it stopped. And in my head, I was like, huh. Well, I guess SoFi Stadium's kicking them out right away. So it's the final day, so maybe they're being charged by the hour. I don't know how it works over with SoFi Stadium, but I was like, oh, that's weird. How come it's not like, you know long. I would think it would be longer because it's like their last song, and they would try to stretch out the song as much as they can. But lo and behold, like bam, like the permission to dance was like pretty much over, and then you hear Chris Martin, like you hear My Universe, and I was like, oh my goodness. And that's when like we text each other, oh my god, like so that was shocking to me.
And you're right, it really did bring the energy up. I think, they were just bummed out. They didn't want it to be over either. And to your point, even though there was a title card at the end that said, we'll see you in Seoul in March 2022, we don't know if that's actually going to be able to happen.
Yeah.
So everything's just so up in the air right now. I think you really have to cherish every second.
Mhm.
And so I'm sure they were feeling the same way we were. Like, I'm totally anticipating a world tour in 22. Hopefully.
Yeah.
If possible. But the question is, will it be? We really don't know. But yeah, I loved how when Chris came out, their energy just bounced right back up through the roof, and they remembered to keep enjoying themselves, because when BTS is enjoying themselves, we enjoy ourselves. Like, I could literally watch them just laugh and goof around all day long.
Yeah.
I mean, I've watched every episode of Run BTS, and that's all it is.
Yeah. And yeah, definitely their energy went back up, and it was just also heartwarming to see, like towards the very end, like the head choreographer, I'm not sure if people noticed, but there was this woman on stage. Like she looks like your regular backup dancer, but to us, like if you're army, like you would recognize who this girl is, and she's this very young, talented girl named Sienna Lau, and she had like two cute pigtails, long hair and wavy. And towards the end, like they were like V looked at her, they had eye contact, they wound up giving each other a big hug. She gave like Kobe a hug on stage. I mean, it was like, oh, it was so heartwarming, like to see that, and I'm glad that we were able to see that during the stream. It was just like a beautiful thing.
And they also showed during the stream something we really appreciated when we were there live, which was during the part where there's like a live band and a brass section and backup singers. Like every night, V was going back there and hamming it up with the singers. And on the stream, they showed it for a second, and he'd done it enough times that they were leaning into it so hard. It was so cute. Like they were totally like, it felt like an improv where they're just throwing things back and forth at each other. And they were all like doing dances together and like all kinds of stuff. And I just thought it was really, they're so gracious. They understand that it takes a village, that it takes literally an army of people to put on a production like this.
Mm-hmm.
And they respect everyone's work. And they always try and highlight everyone with them. They don't think of themselves as the star of the show, the only performer. Everyone there is working hard. And they thank the dancers at the end, which I thought was amazing. Like, all those people doing that Black Swan that you love so much.
Yeah. On and Black Swan and Permission to Dance. Yeah. And to your point too, for Megan and Chris Martin, both times, both guest artists, tried to stand out of the center of the stage. And then BTS brought them back into the center and made them the center of attention. And it was such a beautiful thing to see. It's their concert, but they wanted to highlight them instead. Both times, it happened. Like Jimin with Megan, and I believe like I think it was like V that just grabbed Chris over and was like, come on, like, what are you doing?
And Suga too with Megan. He literally rapped to her.
Yeah. And that was so amazing. I was like, oh my goodness, I loved it. So yeah, I'm just sad that it's over.
It's over too. I'm really sad that it's over, but I also feel like this really energized them for their new music. I mean, RM was posting stuff on Twitter and on Weverse. Um, almost all of them went to the beach, which is like, I mean, if you've never been to a California beach, it is literally the most like calming, inspiring, any sort of adjective you want to put in there. Like it suits all moods. It's when you're down, when you're up, it works for everything. So
Yeah.
I just felt like everything they were doing, even Jin at Six Flags, like literally eating a giant funnel cake full of ice cream, I was like, this is what they need. This is the recharge so that they can do their next thing.
Yeah.
And, a change of scenery, we could all use one right about now. Like the
Yeah.
idea of going on vacation to a foreign country would be a complete mindset, like a reset for me.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine how much good it did them, like their mental health and their creative health.
Yeah. Yeah, most definitely. And let's talk about how they are very engaged with Army. I don't know any artists who are like this, but they performed a concert and
Which is like
then,
3 hours,
yeah, yeah, pretty much.
not including sound check.
Yeah. They performed their concert and then a few hours later, they turn on V Live and stream for at least 25 minutes, like bare minimum.
And they must be exhausted. They've literally done nothing but dance and sing. Like, it's not like easy work. These are athletes who sing while they do stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it was such a treat too because like the first day was the 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 three younger ones, which are Jimin, JK, and V. So those three were really hilarious.
Yes.
Like they're just so funny like together. Well, they're always funny for the most part, but that was like one day. Then the next day was Suga. Then the next day was J-Hope. And then the next day was, and the last night it was JK and RM. But it was, sometimes it wasn't just them, like they were the main people on V Live, but then you'll see like the other members would pop in, like Hobie's V Live. You saw a little bit of JK, and other like other band members would just like pop their head in and just like
JK's such a ham for V Live. He loves to pop in. He loves to just swing by and sing you happy birthday or say hello or
yeah.
whatever. He's such a ham, but in the best way. He's a little bit of a scene stealer, but I like
Yeah, it's so funny to think that he considered, or everyone considered him like shy and quiet.
it. Right.
But, as you grow up, you change, and he's changed so much, he's become like kind of like I kind of see him like stepping in for RM, because he's been like a lot more vocal these days,
Mm.
So which is like a great thing.
I did like that they saved RM till the end. I honestly feel like RM's such a overthinker and analyzer. He probably honestly couldn't even deal with that until the concerts were over. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But then he still wanted to talk to us more, to connect with us more, to tell us how much he loved it. I do feel like for some of the time it is real work. It is hard work. It's not all fun and games, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
RM always shows us that he puts in the work, but still wants to have fun with us.
Yeah.
Also, the one thing, well, there were a couple of things where we were like, we miss Megan. We miss Chris Martin. Why did we miss red-headed Namjoon? That's what I'm really mad about.
Oh. Oh, I know. Oh man, that
Shade,
yeah.
shade.
Hey, at least we got orange haired sugar. So yeah.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, orange looks really good on him.
Super, super cute. I really like the way it's funny because even though they change up their styles all the time, and it's still like uniquely them. I mean, JK, of course, is the most obvious example of someone who has changed his appearance over time, but you don't feel like it's something stylists are putting on them. You feel like it's something like they probably are like, what color do you want? And they're like, this one. You know what I mean? Like it
Yeah.
feels like they have some creative control over their bodies, which is awesome for, basically they're a commodity at this point. They're a brand.
Yeah.
So to still have that kind of autonomy is very necessary for them to keep wanting to do this. And you heard RM, he said he would do this in his 40s and his 50s. So I'm holding him to it. As long as they keep having a good time and can push it themselves creatively and feel inspired, they'll keep doing this. And the best way to keep artists happy is to let them be in control, even of the small things.
Yeah. I wanted to touch on a point though on what RM said during his farewell speech, and he was saying that I think it was both RM and V, and they said that they weren't sure how armies would react, if they would still feel the same way and about them, and I'm like, what? Like once a fan, I feel like is always a fan, for the most part, so I'm like, why wouldn't army like you still?
But I do feel like for both RM and V, they must have felt like they were just like screaming into the void, like, can anyone hear me? Is this reaching anyone? Like, you can read as many internet comments or get likes on Twitter, but it's not the same as having a person right in front of you clapping, cheering, smiling, looking you in the eyes and being like, I love this. This is moving me. And I feel like the two of them really create to like get in touch with other people. I honestly think Suga would just like make his own stuff for himself.
Mm-hmm.
I think Suga could like be the Unabomber, but for music, like just be in a cabin in the woods creating by himself and never care if anyone hears it. But I feel like for RM and V, it's a feedback loop. So they need the audience participation to keep feeling creative.
Mm, yeah. In my head, I was like, I was like, this is so ridiculous. Like I feel like they gained so many more armies, during the pandemic,
Hope
which
so.
includes like us, so it's like I'm sure there's a lot more people that joined the fandom. And it's really funny because when we were buying tickets, I saw some tweets about that, like on Twitter. They're like, "Oh, great, like they're touring, like yay!" But at the same time, they're like, "Oh no, like there's more armies out there now, so it's gonna be so much harder getting tickets." So yeah, it's true though. It was really hard getting tickets.
That's not a
Yeah.
lie.
I feel like even if they had a residency for a month, it would be so hard to get tickets every single day of the month because everyone like would try to fly in and watch them, I really like their online concerts too because like, you had mentioned it before that they hopefully they'll keep it for international army, which they did for this one, thank goodness.
Which makes me feel really hopeful. Like they must see how many people tune in.
Yeah, and I like that they leave like little messages at the end of the concert. Like this one said, see you in Seoul, like March 2022, which you had mentioned earlier, so which alluded to what it sounded like could potentially be a world tour that starts
Start of.
yeah, yeah. But it is concerning only because we don't want them to get sick. We don't want any artist to get sick, really. So,
Yeah, your health is the most important thing.
yeah.
But we also want you to tour if possible.
Yeah. And really quickly too, like obviously their speeches like affected me a lot, so I keep coming back to it. So, I know we mentioned this before too in our previous videos. If you guys haven't seen it, we've created some videos about our experience with our very first K-pop concert, and this is our very first BTS concert. So look for that. There's actually a playlist for it. So pretty sure it says BTS concert November 27, 2021. But yeah, check that out. I was so impressed. Like, I just have to say it again. Like, their English was phenomenal. Like, I was just blown away how articulate J-Hope was, and JK. Like at the end, of all, well, throughout the concert, they did speak in English, but for J-Hope and JK, I was like, wow. And they kept going on in English too, which was like really shocking to me. And you could tell that J-Hope put a lot of work like during these 2 years to learn English. Because
Even when they were vacationing on In the Soup, there was one point where he was like doing his English lesson.
yeah, and you kind of see it come to fruition, like all about learning, and studying and stuff like that, because he's so articulate. So it wasn't like fragments or whatnot, like it was just I was just blown away. I was like, I can't believe within 2 years you sound like this. Not to
And
say
as
that
we've
he
said multiple times, it's not necessary. But
yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, it's really not necessary. Like, honestly, like, speak Korean all you want, because that's your native language. If you feel more comfortable speaking that language, yeah, by all means, do it. But I feel like, the guys didn't want RM to be burdened so much anymore, because that's like a huge task to be the one that's always communicating everything, to everyone. And after a while, it gets really exhausting. So a lot of the guys, I felt like put in the work, to learn English, which again, you don't have to do.
And didn't RM even say on our day, he was like, sorry, my English is a little rusty. And it was like, you sound fine.
I know.
It's like, like idioms and slang. I think you're good.
Yeah. I thought that was really interesting that he said that, because he's like,
He just hadn't had a chance to practice in 2 years.
yeah. And I was like, what? And then he went into this whole entire story about how much, rage he had, but like once he came here, it all just went away. But it was like this long story of like his feelings and stuff like that. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, your English is like so perfect. And it's so funny because like my girlfriend's daughter was listening to them, and she's like, yeah, I could tell that the other guys, they were born and raised in South Korea, because they have an accent. And this is coming from like a 10-year-old girl, and then she's like, but RM sounds like he has an American accent. And I was like, oh honey, like he's born in Korea too. Oh man.
RM, we've said it before. He is your gateway into BTS. First you love RM, then you start to learn everyone else and you love everyone. But RM, he's that gateway drug.
Yeah, it's true. It is so true. If you ever have the opportunity to go, you really should see them live. And I was telling my girlfriend, like, it was like her first online streaming experience with BTS for day 4, because like I somehow convinced her to watch it. And she was like, wow, look at that wave. And I told her, in person, it's so amazing, like seeing that purple wave like in person. Like everything felt like so magical. I've never felt this way about an artist, where I got like super emotional when they said like, it's over and stuff like that. I'm like, what? Like, it's like saying goodbye to like an old friend and you won't see them for a while. So what about you, Beth? Do you have any last thoughts?
Just that, like you, it was so nice. It felt like an extra Festa week. It just felt like a whole week of BTS fun. For no reason other than they were in the same time zone. It was so nice to stream the concert at a normal time. We usually
Yeah.
watch it at like 2 or 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Sorry, Koreans. I'm sure you got a taste of that. And, it was just so nice we were just freaking out over the fact that it was like, they're eating lunch, we're eating lunch, like silly little things. You don't imagine that they'll ever be so close and so nearby. And I don't know, that was like a weird thrill in itself.
Yeah.
So yeah, I felt like we got 2 Festa weeks and that was amazing. We had so much fun and they obviously had so much fun. So we really couldn't ask for any more. I just, we hope things get better and we can see him again soon.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess this wraps up our whole BTS week, huh?
Yeah.
Oh. It's okay. We still have lots of BTS stuff to talk about anyways.
It doesn't wrap up our love for BTS. Nothing will. So,
exactly. All right, you guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And we are
LaChiMoLaLa.
and we will see you guys next time.
안녕.